you would do your master's in psychology, you could still become something, Jen. That's literally what a relative has told me during lunch earlier this year. And honestly, I almost spit out my food. I was like, did she just really say this? And yes, she actually did. And maybe you know this too. Like the endless questions of what comes next and why you haven't achieved this or that. Oh, you still don't know. And then also the pressure to build a perfect CV, to collect all the degrees and certificates and know exactly who you are, have your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, and all these things. And also when I open Instagram, it looks like, honestly, everyone has pretty much their shit figured out, is living their best life and making a lot of money, having a successful business, ticking all the boxes, being somehow ahead with the perfect routines and everything. I used to feel ashamed of not being there yet, and I kind of kept beating myself up a lot for still finding my way, still uncovering who I really am, even after all these years of reflection, introspection, inner work, working with mentors, studying psychology, all these things, until I realized that what if nothing is wrong with us in our 20s? Like, what if the problem is the expectation of our society that we should know all these things already? Because honestly, for many of us, it's pretty unrealistic. Because after spending a decade in school, being told what to do, what to learn, how to do everything, and who we should be, of course, I mean, eventually we arrive at the question, but who am I really now? And I also saw this in myself and also in many of my students. But that's a story for another time. So maybe this phase of feeling a little bit lost and disoriented, it doesn't mean that you're failing or even that you're a failure. So maybe it's a season of reigniting the flame if we do it intentionally and really manage to uncover what genuinely lights up our heart. And it's like following the sparkles and reigniting the flame, because maybe you know it as a child when you were feeling so alive and more flowing with life and kind of knowing what you were, what you wanted in life. But then adults were like, this is impossible, you can't do this because X, Y, and Z. So you kind of gave up or told yourself that it doesn't work anyways, and then adapted to their ways of doing and being. Very often this happens on a very subconscious level. So this is also why I think there's nothing wrong with like trying and failing and learning, changing direction, getting back up, and then just trying again, especially in our 20s. Because what if this is actually the research phase? Let's zoom out of our life. When we were 20, we're actually such a baby. That's what great grandma always says, with almost 80 years old. Like, we don't have a lot of data yet. So how to expect to come to a valid conclusion right now? I mean, I believe that right now, through our experiences, the point is really to gather more data, get more information. And then maybe when we're in our 30s, right now I'm watching my friends, I hear that with the Saturn return, more clarity will slowly arrive. Let's see about that. But now you might be wondering, how do we actually do that? And where do I get started when I feel completely lost right now? And personally, I have to admit, a lot of the life hacks I see online, they failed me completely. And then something really random happened. I was sitting on the motorbike, I was going through nature, and at some point I was screaming, and my fiancé turned around. He was like, why? And I looked to my leg, and literally there was a bee, like stinging me through my pants. And this kinda led me into researching bees a little bit. I'm by no means an expert, but I find it very fascinating how much wisdom they hold about direction, purpose, and even happiness that we can apply to our own lives, because animals in nature, they don't really seem lost. And maybe I believe there are some things or principles that we can learn from them. And I would like to offer you some perspective shifts and guidance in the following videos. At first, something that really changed my mind was that maybe we're not lost, but maybe we're just in the scouting phase, like bees. What does this mean? To summarize, it's a season of wandering, of exploring, of collecting information, and there are two important points that I would like to share with you. The first one is to conduct an energy audit, which means that bees, they don't just use their eyes actually, they also sense the energetic charge and the vibration of flowers. And I think we humans, we do something similar, and our body, it often knows before our mind can catch up or try to make sense of certain things. So instead of asking, is this productive or will this impress people, maybe it's better to ask, does this make me feel alive, and really feel into it, feel into your body. Perhaps for 1 week you might like to notice how certain people and places and activities or environments make you feel either more energized and expanded, light, curious, all these positive things, or perhaps some of them, they leave you feeling more drained and tired and contracted, disconnected, or even stuck in people-pleasing and autopilot. So I invite you to just notice from a place of curiosity rather than judgment, and pay attention to those tiny little sparks, even if they don't logically make a lot of sense yet, or if you can't see the next 10 steps of it, it's completely fine. And also don't be afraid to leave some empty or misaligned flowers behind, like bees do. Did you catch the wordplay? And the second point that I would like to share with you is to turn down the noise. Something I also really felt so deeply last week when I was so confused and disoriented, questioning my life, and I realized one reason why so many of us feel lost is actually because we're constantly asking other people what we should do and what's their advice, what's their opinion on it. But so many of those people, they don't actually embody the life that we want to live. So we create even more noise, and then we feel more overwhelmed and confused. And from this state, then we ask and seek answers outside of us even more, which creates more and more disconnection from our true self. So yeah, maybe you'd like to pay attention how much you're filling your mind either with noise from social media or parents, relatives, so-called experts, comparison, all the pressures, to the point that it becomes difficult to hear your own inner voice. I don't say that it's all bad, but I think it is important to be mindful with those things, because we can easily end up or even get trapped in a state of confusion and comparison and complete chaos. And if bees live in chaos, the hive, it cannot really function properly. And honestly, I believe that humans are pretty similar to that. So I would like to invite you to create some space, maybe do a small digital detox. Personally, it helped me so much. And also to go for a walk, spend a lot of time in nature without phone and scrolling and music and all this input, just spending time being in nature, maybe even barefoot to the sand or the grass or touching a tree. Yeah, be as present as it's possible for your nervous system. And maybe you would also like to ask yourself those 2 questions that really changed my perspective a lot as well. Feel free to grab a pencil and a paper and pause the video for a little bit, and then continue. So number 1 is, if nobody could judge me, like, what would I genuinely want to spend my time doing? And number 2 is, if money didn't matter, what would naturally pull me? Or if I would have, I don't know, 1 billion euros or dollar tomorrow, what would I do differently? Like, what would I start doing? What would I stop doing? Just maybe take a moment, like 5 to 10 minutes. No need to overthink. And actually, these questions, they often reveal the parts of ourselves that are underneath all the conditioning that we received growing up. What's good and what's bad and what's success and what's failure, which is just like programming in the end. It's not the truth. And this is also why practices like mindful movement and yoga, or also yoga nidra, which sometimes is referred to as non-sleep deep rest, can be so helpful. Like for me, it really, really changed my life, because in the beginning I couldn't really be present or connect to my body or like feel my body, and then it's very difficult to tell what's for me, what's not for me. Like you gotta have some sense of connection, and for that we often need sense of safety first, which I love to build with the inner home. If you're longer on my channel, you probably heard me talking about it or guiding yoga nidras a bunch of times. You can also find some. Maybe I will link you one somewhere here up there, because for our nervous system the fundamentals are so important, and less is always more. Maybe you're not behind, maybe you're just gathering data for the life that's actually aligned with your heart and your true self. And if you feel called to reconnect yourself on a deeper level through nervous system regulation, yoga nidra, mindfulness, and inner safety, you can join the waitlist for our nervous system spa below. I will link it in the description. And in the next video, I will talk about something that's been really difficult for me personally, and that's how to know when a path, or dream, or identity no longer feels alive anymore. So yeah, I'm still very much in another cycle of that lately, and yeah, can't wait to share this from my heart. I hope it will help you. I hope this video has also been useful. Yeah, let me know in the comments. I always love to hear from you. Sending lots of love and sunshine from Greece.